So before we jump into today's video, I just want to extend my thanks and just have a moment of gratitude and express to you all that I'm very grateful for you all who showed up and watched the behind the scenes of the Grazia, Serbia editorial and left such kind comments and sent me a bunch of messages and left comments on Instagram and YouTube. And I just want to say thank you because that feels really great, and I'm glad that the video resonated with so many of you guys. I'm glad the experience resonated with so many of you guys. And I was happy to provide that insight to you all because I love sharing my creative journey. And this editorial was special. You know, it was one that was fully aligned. It was my first editorial back in 2 years. So I'm very grateful and thankful to Grazia for the opportunity and my team as well. Everyone just did an amazing job. So thank you all. Thank you to everyone that supported. If you haven't checked out the behind the scenes, be sure to do that. It'll be linked in the description. And there's an outtake look as well. You can check that out on the channel and I'll link it in the description. So thank you guys all again, and let's jump into it. So in today's video, I want to do a flip through of the print issue of the September 24 issue of Grazia, Serbia. And it's just an amazing time to be able to see my work printed and just to see it on this cover. And to be honestly an obscure magazine that was pretty hard to get a hold of, but there's an interesting story behind that. But it feels good to hold this and have my work be tangible and be able to share it with you guys. But I also want to talk about the process of actually how I got the opportunity to shoot the story. What was the lead up like? How did I get connected with Grazia? And I also want to talk about after the shoot. What was the post-production like? What was the turnaround time like? What was the process to getting all the film developed? And there's a lot that goes into that, and I want to be able to cover that today because I didn't talk about that in the behind the scenes video. And a quick note, if you're interested in more behind the scenes and you want to get a closer look at the insight to my process, check out the description. My Patreon will be linked there. I've been working on it over the last 2 years, and I've been sharing a lot about my creative journey there and shoots and things I do, and it's something I'm still building, but I would love to see you over there. Paid or free, you're able to join, and I promise there's going to be something there for you, 100%. So let me tell you the story about how I actually got my hands on the physical print of the magazine. Grazia, Serbia is very small. It is not a magazine of Grazia that I can get here in the States, or at least that I know of. So there's actually somebody in Serbia that I came across that collects past issues and current issues of Serbian magazines. And they left a comment on my Instagram post when I shared the images from the story when it first came out. And they left a comment saying they had the magazine and if I was interested in purchasing it, to message them. So I reached out to them, we had a conversation, and I basically let them know I wanted to get more than one. My aim was to get 10. And this person went around town with their son looking for as many of the magazines as they could. And I can't remember the number of magazines they found, but what she did was contacted a friend in a nearby town to find as many Grazia, Serbia magazines of this specific issue that they could find, and had them send them to her. And altogether, I ended up getting 10. She shipped it to me here in the States. It took a little while to get, but 100% worth it when it comes to preserving the memory. So to be connected to someone over there with some work I've created here in that way, I think is really cool.
This is crazy. Oh my god. 10 copies I had shipped from Serbia from this person that collects Serbian magazines. She left a comment on the cover post. It was like, yo, I have the magazines for sale if you want one. I didn't even know how many to get, so I got 10. Holy crap. That is crazy. Oh, it looks so good, dude. Look at that. Insane, brother. We'll see. Oh, there it is. Insane. Insane.
So how did the opportunity actually come about? Well, I actually think it started well before Grazia contacted me, because there was somebody that I worked with at Design Scene on a number of editorials over the last few years that reached out to me. They had actually moved over from Design Scene to Grazia, and they wanted to stay in touch. And this is one big thing about networking, is once you know someone, you know them. everybody elevates in their career to different points, and you never know who may be where and who can give out those opportunities. So I'm very grateful and thankful that I was kept in mind, that they wanted to stay in touch with me. I think it says a lot about the work I was able to create with the design scene, and just be able to stay on par and stay top of mind with this person. So they reached out and they let me know if I had any ideas for editorials, to let them know about what those ideas were, and we could see about doing a potential story. So there was an opportunity that came up later in the year when this person first made contact with me after they switched over. I think it was early 2024. And then I want to say closer to the springtime, or right at the end of winter, they reached out to me about an editorial opportunity with Grazia, but the turnaround time was way too short. I want to say it was a week before I would have had to deliver the images, and there was no way I would have been able to do it here in Seattle, just because a lot of the teams that I work with are down in LA. There's just way more crew there, there's way more talent, and it's just a different market, point blank period. And there's no way I would have been able to go down to LA, put everything together in such a short amount of time. I think maybe had I lived there, it would have been a different story, but unfortunately that's just not the case. But I let them know, hey, that wasn't going to work. But then once that conversation happened, the editor-in-chief for Grazia entered into the conversation and said, well, let's plan something for September 2024. Let's plan something for that issue. So we stayed in contact from the spring throughout the summer, just talking about the story, talking about the mood board, and talking about the direction that the editor-in-chief wanted to go with. And the direction being focusing on the trends for fall 24. And this is where Ariel comes into play, and working with a good stylist period comes into play, because they're going to be somebody that's up on the trends. I may see what's out there, see what's cool, but they're really going to know what the market is looking for and what the trends are trending towards. And Ariel was up on that 100,000%. So she was able to take my vision and really hone it into something that's more tangible and on target, something that would fit the brief. So as I mentioned before, the team in LA, it was filled with some new and familiar faces. Ariel, I've worked with on a number of editorials. She actually reached back out to me in 2021 and invited me to work with her. And she really gave me an opportunity to really expand my portfolio and expand my expertise, and was able to give me a lot of experience working on a number of editorials, and we've shot a number of covers together. She's a frequent collaborator, and she's always there to really help the vision come to life. And she brings her flavor, she brings her style, her taste, and just her expertise. And I kind of let her do her thing. And we are able to collaborate and work together to create something that's greater than just both of us individually. And we're able to create that synergy, which is such a beautiful thing. So let's talk about our hair and makeup artist, Adriana. I worked with her on a number of shoots, beauty shoots, fashion tests, various editorials. She's always been great. She's super fast and very efficient, which is why I love working with her. She's able to just get things done, and another frequent collaborator, and somebody that I feel very comfortable with. And me, Ariel, and Adriana have all worked together before. So we already had that chemistry coming in, which is really nice. So there's a little bit of comfort there, knowing that, okay, we already know we're gonna click. Let's just go and make this thing happen. And then the homie Russell, always coming through, always down to ride. He was doing everything, filming behind the scenes, production assistant, photo assistant, everything. He was there, helping out in a major way. So big love and shout out to Russell. Me and Russell have worked together a ton, just helping build each other up over the last few years, going down to LA, just being that support, really growing that relationship and friendship. So it's always nice too when I'm able to work with friends and be able to create something special. So another photo assistant was Brian. I actually met Brian in Seattle, but we didn't really start connecting until I went down to LA, and I'm really glad that I brought him on. Ironically, he was the last person that I brought on, not because I didn't want him there, but because I wanted to make sure that there was going to be something he could do there that was really valuable. I don't want to bring people on to set and they're not going to get a good experience from that. I want people to be able to come to set and be able to walk away with something, whether that's a connection or some sort of expertise, or like being able to see how other people work and just be able to pick something up, and it feels good. And he had a great energy, handling all the cameras, film and digital, loading film, giving me the motion camera, the Fujifilm X-H2, and just making everything go smooth and just being on top of everything and just being so on point. So really appreciate Brian. And our last photo assistant was Belle. she was handling the reflector that day, and she was able to just provide a little bit more guidance on lighting. It was good to just have that second opinion and second look when it came to all of those things. I mean, there was a bit of overcast, obviously, if you've seen the video, but at times the sun was really poking out. So all in all, everyone came together and provided a bit of expertise in their specific roles, and they all did great. And one thing I want to mention about Belle was this was my first time meeting her. So I'm always a little bit nervous and hesitant towards bringing new people on set. Not because I don't want to have that shared experience or give those opportunities to those people, but when people come to set, you just really want to ensure that they're not going to mess up the chemistry, and she certainly didn't. But it's always something I caution with. It's just like, how well do you know this person? Do they come recommended? You know, what is the type of vibe you're getting from them? Because you don't want to have any other distractions when it comes to set. You just want to show up and just be able to shoot and execute. So when Grazia reached out, one thing they stressed to me was they wanted me to keep my essence, keep my direction. They wanted to keep my style. They didn't want me to go beyond myself to do something totally different than what I had already been creating in terms of my look and feel, which was really nice. It was really, I felt really grateful about that I was desired, I was wanted. I wasn't just picked because they needed a person to fill the role, but they were really after what I created. Some tools that helped me with those creations were the Pentax 645N, that camera I was shooting color with and using a zoom lens and prime, and then the Mamiya 6 just as a change up. I was shooting black and white through that, and then also for stills I was using the Fujifilm X-H2, but that was mainly just for safety, just in case anything happened to the film. And I was using the X-H2 for motion to shoot the fashion film. And all these tools helped me get the job done. It was something I thought a lot about before coming back to editorials, was what were the tools that were going to help me keep in the moment, what were going to keep me present and keep me connected to Abria, our amazing model. Abria I had actually been wanting to work with for a while, but I hadn't been to LA in a minute. But the last time I was in LA, I want to say timing just didn't work out for us to sync up. And then also another cool thing, you know how I mentioned Grazia wanted me to shoot, Grazia wanted Abria for the editorial. So I had to present them casting options, and then they were able to pick who the top person was. We originally scheduled the shoot to be done on the 9th, but we had to move up a day because that's when Abria was available. So that sped up the process of getting to LA and getting out to shoot, because I had just touched down in LA the day before on Wednesday, and then the next day we were shooting. We were supposed to have more time to get acclimated and get settled before the editorial, but things just didn't work out like that, but we made it work. So after shooting the editorial, as you guys saw, we finished up way late in the evening. There were no film labs open at that time, but the next day went over to that one photo lab, as they're known on Instagram, aka Digital Photo and Printing Studio. They're out in Glendale. I've been working with this lab for a few years now, taking my film to them, and I love them. They give great customer service, and I was actually really surprised they still remembered me and recognized me when I came into the lab. Dropping that film off, we were able to get it processed for the same day. So dropped it off sometime in the morning and then got it later that day, and I had to start processing those images, and I was really happy with how fast of a turnaround that they do. But I also think it makes sense because LA is such a big market and there's a lot of people there working, so clients are going to have those fast turnaround times, and photographers need to be able to rely on labs to be able to get those images back so they can start post-processing them to deliver to clients, which was me in this case. All right, so when were the deliverables due? Let's go back over the timeline of LA. I landed in LA August 7th on a Wednesday, did the editorial shoot August 8th, Thursday, dropped off the film August 9th on a Friday. The deliverables were due between August 10th and August 12th. Between August 10th and August 12th. The shoot was on the 8th. Not a lot of time. The deliverables that need to be delivered first were the stills. And part of this process is because they're laying out the magazine. They need to see how everything is going to flow together, how they're going to edit the story, meaning which photos they're going to pair with which, and what's the layout going to be like. Now, at this point, we don't know that we're going to be eligible for the cover. We did not know we were going to be eligible for the cover. I think if we did, that might have put a little bit more pressure on shooting, framing, all of those things to leave enough room for the lettering and everything else that goes on the cover of the magazine. But I'm glad we didn't know. But once we were told there was a chance we could get the cover, there was a lot of excitement building. I think Melina, the editor-in-chief at Grazia at the time, was really impressed with what we created, and that felt good to over-deliver. So we had to get those photos turned around quickly. So I sent over proofs to Grazia so they can make some selects, and then I could hop on those edits instead of just editing all of the film. So I was trying to conserve as much time as possible. So I mentioned when the deliverables for the stills were due. Let's talk about motion. I didn't actually have to submit that until August 30th, and that was the day the magazine actually was going to be published. So I had more time to work on that, which I absolutely needed. By the time they got the fashion film in their hands, it was more about putting the logo at the end of it, and there wasn't a lot of editing for that process in terms of what they were doing on their end. It was just one of these things where I send a link, drop it off, and just deliver. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you haven't seen the behind the scenes for the Grazia Serbia editorial, head to the description, it'll be linked there, or just click on the homepage for my channel and you'll be able to find that video and the outtake video. And thank you so much again to all you guys who've already checked it out. I really appreciate the support either way, and I appreciate you taking the time to take all of this in. Big love to you all. If you're new around here, consider subscribing, drop this one a like, comment, all of those things. Reach out to me via DMs on Instagram. Connect with me. I love to hear from you guys, and I love to hear the feedback, and I love to hear how these type of videos are helping you. So thank you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Holla.